Okay, we're going to start this sketchnoting video by drawing a line across the top and then one line vertically down, kind of close to the edge a little bit. And then we're going to draw another line kind of down the center. Now we're going to draw 10 more lines. So make sure you give yourself enough space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, that's where we're going to stop. Okay, so we're going to draw a little line down here. Okay, so at the top, this column's going to be all about the different factors that each side had leading into the Civil War. And then on the far right, you're going to write North or South. This should look familiar from when we did the advantages and disadvantages leading into the Revolutionary War. So we have the North, the Union, versus the South, the Confederacy. And the different factors that we're going to rate here are the purpose, or basically the cause for fighting. Why did each side want to fight? And this is all at the beginning of the war. Next, population. Next, industry. And then railroads. Raw materials, money, the Navy, geography, military leadership, and foreign alliances. So those are the 10 different factors that we are going to judge who has the advantage, the North or the South. So here they all are. Okay, so the North, their reason for fighting is to preserve the Union. The Union being the United States. The South has seceded, meaning that they broke away, they split away from the Union. So the North wants to keep the Union together, keep the United States together as one. On the other hand, the South, they're fighting for their rights as a state, for states' rights. They want to maintain the Southern way of life. They think that the North is infringing on that, and this is what they are saying. They want to maintain their way of life, and spoiler alert, this way of life includes slavery. But notice how each side, they don't specifically say that they are fighting to keep slavery or to prevent slavery. Okay, this is how it is in the beginning of the war. Then, like we did with the Revolutionary War activity, I want you to determine who has the advantage here. Maybe it's the South. Maybe it's the North. This far column all the way to the right is just your opinion. Okay? Maybe you think that the South has a stronger cause here because they're fighting for their way of life. But that it could be the North, depending on what you think. Okay, so population. The North has a very large population, bigger than the South. They have 22 million people. This is important because all of these people can be used to fight, farm, which would supply the armies, manufacture to produce weapons, bullets, everything. So they can put these 22 million people to work for their cause. The South, on the other hand, has a lower population. They have about 9 million people, and this number includes slaves. So the slaves we know are already busy producing cash crops such as cotton and tobacco. So they have less people to put towards the cause. So maybe you think that the North has the advantage here. Maybe you see a different angle and want to say South. Once again, this column is your opinion. I'm not going to write any more of my opinion here. So the rest of it, I'd like you to fill out with yours. Okay. Industry. The North has 10 times more factories than the South. This includes 1.2 million industrial workers. And out of the whole entire country, 80% of the industry is in the North. Kind of like I said earlier, they can put all of these factories and the people who work within these factories, they can use this for manufacturing, for producing weapons, bullets, etc. is what I wrote there. You can't really see it, but that's what I wrote. I ran out of space. The South, they have less factories. Remember, their economy is based on what? Plantation farming. Okay, that is what drives their economy. So they have less factories. They have about 100,000 industrial workers. So less being put to use for that production of supplies for the war. Railroads, transportation. Another number, 80% of the railways are actually in the North. This is important because these railways can be used to transport troops. They also have more skilled railway mechanics, so if something goes wrong, they have more of a, they can basically, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought because Chase was about to bark. If something goes wrong, they have more people to pull from to fix that issue. And also, transporting troops and supplies, this conserves energy instead of marching everywhere. Then your troops will be more prepared for fighting. The South has less railways. Little fun fact, 19 out of the 470 locomotives that were in the United States were in the South. So 19 out of 470 were in the South of the trains that they had. So this is difficult for them to transport armies and supplies. So just think about how useful that factor is. Raw materials. The North had a lot of coal, lumber, food, and crops. This means that their armies could be better fed and supplied. And then the South, on the other hand, they have less raw materials because, once again, their focus of their economy is plantation farming. Plantation farming uses a lot of land and labor, and it depletes the soil. So they don't have a huge agricultural focus on just regular crops. Theirs is on cash crops such as cotton and tobacco. All right, money. The North just by default has more money. Remember, they are the United States. They already have an established currency, which would be the U.S. dollar. They already have an established banking system. They're not the ones trying to break away and start their own country. They have this stuff already set up. And going off of this, they also will be able to receive money from the federal government to fund their side of the war. The South, on the other hand, they have less money. They don't have a dollar, a U.S. dollar. It's going to kind of go back to the way it was during the AOC. Articles of Confederation days, when each state kind of had their own currency. They don't have this established system to fund their army. Going on with established systems. The North has a large navy. It's already established. They're going to use their navy to blockade the southern coast. Think about the word block. Blockade. So basically they're going to try to prevent goods from coming into the South from other countries. That's what their plan is. They're going to try to blockade the southern coast. So the South's going to have to build up their own navy basically from scratch. To build ships or to purchase ships, that's going to cost a lot of money, correct? So this requires money that they don't have a lot of. Also just going to write here that they could purchase ships from Europe, but once again, all this stuff that they need that they don't have readily available will cost money. Okay, geography. You should remember this from the Revolutionary War. The North, they're trying to bring the South back into the Union. They have to invade, which means that they are on the offensive. Okay? That means that they're not as familiar with the geography in the South, the different little mountains and rivers that they could use to their advantage. Remember, at first, maybe once they're in, they can learn Also, they're planning to blockade the coast. The South's coast is really long to blockade. It's going to be very porous. That's what the word is there. Porous meaning like a lot of goods are still going to be able to get through because the coast is so large. South, on the other hand, has home field advantage. This puts them on the defense, and they will play to that position for a while, that the North will have to come to them and invade them. The South, you'll see that the South really encounters a lot of problems when they do try to flip this strategy and invade North. Their strength is playing the defense. So like I said earlier, the North is going to have a hard time blockading the coast. The mountains and the rivers, they're going to really use to their advantage. All right, military leadership. Most of the best generals side with the South in the beginning. The best and experienced generals. The North's going to have a ton of difficulty with good leadership at the beginning of the war. They have a really difficult time in the beginning. The South, on the other hand, they are more familiar with weapons and horses just due to their way of life. And most of the experienced generals known in the country will side with the South because they're from the South. So Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, we will learn about them more later. But think about how this plays into how great of a strength this is, military leadership. Okay, so last foreign alliances. The North does not have any real foreign alliances. For example, like Great Britain or France didn't just specifically say they were going to support the North in the beginning of the war. But one thing they have going for them is that they are already recognized as an independent nation. This reminds me of when the Patriots were trying to get aid from France in the Revolutionary War. It took the Battle of Saratoga to be a main turning point for France to be like, okay, these guys are legit enough for us to back them. Okay, on the South, they are a supplier of raw cotton to Great Britain and France. So like the Patriots in the Revolutionary War, they hoped that they could prove themselves so that they could get their support, but this is by far guaranteed. Far from guaranteed. Okay, so here are your notes. It's not really sketch notes, it's more just like a bunch of notes on a graphic organizer, but this gives a really good overview of the advantages and disadvantages of the North and the South prior to this, at the very beginning of the Civil War. Hopefully on the far right you have written down North or South for which side you think has the better advantage. This will help you answer this question. Which side seemed more prepared for the war? The North or the South? This will be important for our lesson tomorrow. Think about why, so look at those factors to help you make your decision.